So in this series, we covered Emma in season one and how she was catfished and her internalization of the problem afterwards may have led to some downfalls with Liberty and Manny. Of course, Liberty with accused of being with Armstrong and Manny accused of, selling out for her cheerleader stuff from Emma. We also saw in part two about Emma going off on a tangent multiple times, especially with Spike and Snake dating. What student wants their teacher to date their parent? And of course, Emma's fight with Raj over the GMO foods, which saw both of them get chastised, rightfully so. Talked about season three and how Emma just wanted to be with her father and like have a father figure. She doesn't view Snake as a father figure until she hears about what happens to Shane and all that, and realizes that Snake is trying to help her out and all that. We also talk about season four of how a innocent little move by Emma to try to prevent Chris and Liberty from hooking up led to her being shunned by Liberty and Manny, which led her to join Paige's clique to get rid of Rick, but then leave Paige's clique after they take the Rick situation incorrectly. Her being basically on the quiz bowl team with Toby, Rick, and Jimmy, and basically no one supporting her, and how it turned into her having problems. And then in season five, one of her biggest mistakes, if not her biggest mistake, was her relationship with Peter, which was wrong because Peter put Manny in such a bad position. But maybe Emma wanted to be with Peter because now that Manny's living under Emma's roof, Emma can manipulate Manny. I'll talk about more about that when I talk about the friendship episode. Also, I talked about last week how Emma's reactionary things in the episode If You Leave were just basically her trying to keep Manny around her, thinking she's going to lose Manny as an ally. But Manny just wants to go home to her parents and all that. And after all, I mean, her house is now a crime scene in a sense. Emma had a right to freak out. And then, of course, Sean left her. She had problems. But of course, as always, the second time that Sean left Emma, Emma had some weird, what you call therapy and all that. Season seven wasn't the worst season of Emma's career, but she did make some weird mistakes. All in all, it's just bricks in Emma's wall. Face it, Emma, you're much hated. We know that things kinda make you jaded. That's okay though, everyone goes through them. But you have to let people in your wall. Putting up a wall is not what you really have to do. People will help you and make you overrated. It's just the bricks in Emma's wall. Emma was a serious person and all that. She really wanted a boyfriend and all that. It was all there. I mean, season four, she dumped Chris off to try to be with a guy because she wanted a guy to swoon over her, but nobody did except for Chester. But we forget about Chester. And then all of a sudden, Peter having the hots for Emma, despite the fact that, well, for many, despite the fact that Emma wants to be with Peter. But the fact of the matter is, once Sean left for the army, he and Emma did communicate. I have made boo boos in the past that Emma and Sean were not with each other. Like they didn't communicate with each other, but they did. The simple fact is that Emma was a decent person. And, after losing Sean, she still communicated with Sean, but now she had to deal with Lakehurst moving into Degrassi because of a fire, which was never addressed, which is the stupidest thing. It's like they should have addressed the Lakehurst fire at least once in the series. I mean, yeah, they had a fire, but what happened to it? Was it just faulty electronics? Was it electrical system? Or did someone arson it? Maybe in response to JT. and his death. But it never happened. So the Lakers people come in and try to adjust to Degrassi, and Emma tries to adjust to them. I actually would have thought that Lakers and Degrassi would have had some kind of assembly thing, and Emma would have been forced to take some kind of seminar because of her actions against Lakers in season 6. But it didn't happen. Nevertheless, Emma then in the Purple Dragon episode, I forget what the episode is officially called, but she actually gets noticed by Damien, who actually had a fling with Manny. Of course, that was the fling that saw Emma see red when she was with Sean, and that Manny is Damien, the Lakers student council president, who kind of has a connection with Drake Lampley, the guy who stabbed JT in the aorta. Even yes at that. But regardless of that, Emma wasn't so sure what to think. And, the Purple Dragon thing. And Emma wanted to protest Purple Dragon, but then when she gets told that, oh, she's so predictable and all that, Emma's like, what are you talking about? And Manny and Liberty tell her that basically Emma will go on a crusade and will do whatever she has to do. And Emma says, I'm not that predictable anymore. You forgot. I'm not the same Emma I used to be. So she decides to be the Purple Dragon girl, manages to get in somehow. And, Manny and Liberty think that she's going to destroy from the Purple Dragon stuff from within. But but Emma decides to be happy with the attention she's getting from guys and all of that. Sean isn't there with her, and she basically openly flirts with some people. But of course, the guys are being bad to Emma, and Emma has to take it thanks to Natasha's talking. And Emma nearly goes down that eating disorder rabbit hole again when she's told that the dress was the biggest they could find. So Emma thinks about not eating, but then decides, I'm not going through that again, and decides that she's going to eat and she's going to prove to Natasha she could be fine no matter what weight she seems to be at. So then she decides to go after Purple Dragon and yell at Purple Dragon, and people are upset, even Coach Armstrong. Why are you taking down Purple Dragon? Basically, all for the buck. Emma then decides, after Natasha says, you can't wear that dress and ruin our policies. Okay, fine. She strips it off and she's wearing a thong. But of course, you can imagine the Canadian and American audiences going bonkers over that scene, especially Snake, trying to protect other people from seeing it. But you can't unsee it. Emma knows she's in trouble, but she only gets massive detentions for the dress code issue. And Hatzelackos, I think, figured that she was brave in doing it. I think it was code for the fact that, Hatzelackos felt bad about having that relationship with Snake and didn't want to hurt Emma. Of course, the whole Lakers Degrassi riot, you had to punish Emma. I thought she would have been suspended or expelled. So anyway, Snake then tells Emma, please, Emma, no more. I beg of you. I want to finish this year off strong. Little did people know that the next episode was when Snake was turfed because of Darcy being wrong about her relationship with Snake. Basically, Snake was trying to help Darcy, and Darcy basically said that Snake was inappropriate towards her, and basically they had to do an investigation. But Emma basically says that Damien is paying attention to her. She smiles and she's like, I'm going to tell Sean it's over. I just want a guy and all that. Now, am I not predictable? Now, am I predictable? It's obvious that Emma did it because everyone thought she was too damn predictable. She obviously was telling these people, you don't know me at all. I'm going to prove to you that I'm not that predictable, and you can't stop me. So logically, Emma is feeling this way just to get some control back in her life, if you will. So Emma smiles at herself that she's now got Damien. She's now got a boy that likes her and all that. It seems that the only guys that actually liked Emma were creepy, like Toby, psycho, like Rick, or just not in the right frame of mind, Sean post season 4, or even a one-shot character like Chester. So Emma's got some weird relationship history with guys that like her and all that. I don't know if Chris really liked her. I don't think Sean really liked her, like pre-season 4 and all that. Emma had to chase after the boys. And I think Emma, yeah, as I said, Emma probably did it to make sure to people that she's not predictable and basically all that. I think she was trying to prove people wrong, saying that, she's easy to read. I am not easy to read. Regardless of that, after Darcy becomes inappropriate towards, Snake and, you know, tells people that Snake was inappropriate with her and Hatzalakos believes Snake and all that. Emma confronts Darcy about it, and Darcy decides after a little bit to jump off the roof, but Manny saves her. Manny forces Darcy to come clean to her parents about everything. Well, Darcy comes clean about the fact that Snake was not inappropriate with her. She doesn't say anything about her rape. Basically, Darcy was trying to protect herself because, her parents would fly out the handle. I mean, they're Christian parents, and, when you get raped, it's basically you had sex. Of course, Darcy goes to Africa the next season, and believe it or not, I still think that Darcy's parents got rid of her. Like they knew about her problems and shipped her off to Africa to make people forget about their problems. So, anyway, Emma then decides to take it upon herself to try to help Snake out after he got in trouble. Despite the fact that Darcy told everyone everything, they still have to investigate. Fortunately, Snake is cleared. And then that episode, when he comes back, well, Snake kind of comes back to school. Sean pops up out of freaking nowhere and surprises Emma. He's on leave before he has to join the army at a base. And basically, they reconcile and all that. Well, sparks were flying with Emma and Sean, but Emma knew that Sean was going to get hurt, and she was a little nervous. Then Emma decides to do one of the most common nice things and basically help Snake out in the fallout. After Snake is cleared to come back, Snake just can't get back to Degrassi because the Lakers students are making him uncomfortable. Spike doesn't understand it and basically tells Snake, don't let Emma get involved because the last time I checked, with her getting involved, she got an eating disorder. Well, that's just pure stupid, Spike. I mean, okay, Spike, that's understandable, but to basically think that Emma's going to be controlling and then get an eating disorder? Are you nuts? Emma, of course, is pissed off that Spike would make such a statement. She had a right to. And then once Snake still can't go back to Degrassi, Spike decides enough was enough and takes the kids to her mom's. Not Emma. Emma says someone has to be an adult about the situation and decides to stay with Snake, doing one of the most common nice things that Emma has ever done. And I think she was basically blasting her mom and saying that someone has to be an adult about this. I think she was just sniping at Spike. So, of course, Emma helps Snake get back to Degrassi, and he's good as gold. And Emma did something nice. And then the prom comes up. She's with Damien. Unfortunately, Damien and Liberty decide to sneak away a kiss and all that. Manny goes after Liberty, and Liberty says, it's just nothing and all that. Manny says, you're going to ruin Emma's life and all that. She's doing quite well for herself. And then, they do the jump in the pool thing. And of course, all goes well. Unfortunately, Damien brags about being with Liberty and all that. And Toby spills the beans about everything. No filter. Well, Toby is sometimes no filter. Emma is upset. But then Emma decides to take her aggression out on Damien, not Liberty, saying that I didn't want to ruin a 6-year friendship. And I'm like, well, technically she's wrong because Liberty and Manny and Emma were not always the best of friends. Sure, they were more frenemies than friends. So basically, Emma decides to forgive Liberty. I know that the Degrassi Reddit community said that, Emma got what she was deserved because of her trying to prevent Liberty from dating Chris in season 4. Everything came full circle. That Liberty stole Emma's man. But the fact of the matter is that, Emma decided to be the bigger person this time. With Liberty trying to go after Chris the first time, she wasn't the bigger person, and guess where it landed her? Without Manny and Liberty as friends, and that could have helped her out with the Rick situation. So she decided she needed to be the bigger person and let Liberty get a pass. And that's great. I like Emma for that. And then, of course, the touching final scene of season 7, in which they put a graduation cap on a picture of JT at the JT York Garden and basically flip the tassel. This was actually about to be the end of Degrassi as we know it. A CTV, I think, was going to pull the plug after 7 seasons, but Nickelodeon and a few other networks rallied, and Degrassi was back on the air. It was actually supposed to be done by season 9, but then new sponsors and all that, and CTV didn't take control of Degrassi. It was Much Music in Canada, of course. I'm Canadian. So what have we learned from season 7, Emma? Is that it is apparent that she still has the trauma of the fact that Sean left her. And, without Sean, she feels vulnerable and all that. Although she does communicate with Sean, at least she does that. But then once Damien shows her affection in the Purple Dragon episode, Emma realizes that a guy's paying attention to her and she likes it. And decides, well, if this guy wants to be with me, I'm going to go down to his level. Unfortunately, it doesn't work out that way. And we had that one terrible episode in which she buys a dog to win Damien's heart. It was like, what the heck, Emma? You could tell that Sean leaving her affected Emma. It was like season 4 when he left to go to Wasaga Beach to deal with his PTSD with the Rick situation. Emma was forlorn, and Emma wanted to be with Sean. Because after all, Sean saved her from a gun. What type of person wouldn't? So, regardless of that, Emma probably felt terrible and didn't want Sean to get hurt in the army. I mean, I understand that. The fact of the matter with Emma is that she did a good thing by sticking by Snake, even though that Darcy was inappropriate with him. And Darcy, was trying to hide her rape and trying to hide from her parents that she had sex. Although it was not her decision. It was basically some random guy getting on her. But the fact of the matter is that, Snake should have went to Hatzalakos right away with the whole thing with Darcy. He should not have kept it secret. I know that he wanted to protect Darcy, but it didn't do so well. It caused a lot of troubles for him. And I think that basically every teacher is told, you have to be telling me these things right off the bat. So then, Emma is upset that Damien is with Liberty. So what? And she's like, so what? Damien's the bad guy. Emma learned to let go of the situation and not fly off the handle. She knew that she had to be a new Emma. She couldn't be the old Emma because the old Emma, she pissed everyone off of. Fight me on this, but I think that when Emma was doing the if you leave thing from the previous season, and, she was not internalizing her problems. She was basically trying to project them on people. But when people really rejected her and didn't like her and said some stuff about her, and Snake told her to wise up, Emma realizes she needed to be with Manny. She needed to lower her standards, be with Manny and Liberty, and don't get herself caught in this because, Emma probably realized how much of a bitch she was and didn't want to go down that route again. So fight me on that. So anyway, that's that for the next generation, like season 7. There are 3 more videos to go, and the next one is a 2-season one. Like I'll do 2 seasons of one because the storylines kind of intertwine. Anyhow, Jeff, I'm going to do